See, most people think commitment is about choosing someone, being faithful to them, right? Being loyal, showing up for them, and all the things that goes into a relationship, right? But in reality, you can never and will never truly and fully commit to your partner until you make this key commitment first. You have to commit to yourself first before you can ever commit to anyone else. Because until you commit to your growing, your healing, your individuality, your relationship will always struggle, at least on your behalf, right? Now, your partner, that's another conversation. Maybe they have things too on their end that contributes to that same outcome. But rest assured that on your side of the equation, because all you can ever control is what you do and how you show up in your relationship, right? If you have not committed to yourself in these areas, your relationship will absolutely be a byproduct of it. I mean, think about it. If you don't know who you are, you don't know what you need, you don't know how to sustain your own happiness individually, then how could you ever show up fully for another person in a relationship, right? The answer is you can't. Your relationship will always be incomplete in some way because part of two halves coming together to make a whole is that both halves have to be whole pieces, right? You can't have cracks and missing parts, missing pieces, void space, and try to come together and make a solid one unifying piece. See, too many of us live in a world of our primal wiring, right? Too many of us are living by our animalistic nature of our human needs, right? Our desires, our cravings, being impulsive, right? And too few of us are practicing self-mastery, self-discipline, right? Self-growth, self-reflection, all the fundamental pieces that actually are very required in order for you to have anything you want to be healthy and prosperous in life, especially your relationship, right? It does not get any more important with that part of your life because that's one of the most important decisions you'll ever make in your life and investments you'll make in your life. And it's also going to require the most out of you investing yourself into the equation that you ever will in your life with anything else. I mean, think about the concept of taking one human being that's living a whole life, has personalities, has experiences, has dreams, fears, goals, ambitions, all the things, right? Interests, hobbies, stuff that works for them, unique to that person. And you're trying to take that one person and blend them with a whole nother human being that has their whole set of their own experience, their own living, and all the things. And you're trying to bring them together and make them operate as one unit. You know how difficult that is in reality? Now, we don't have to make it more complicated than it is, right? Some people overcomplicate the whole thing, but that's a very delicate process, very delicate journey. And it requires everything from you that you have to offer to make it work at its best. Yeah, because anyone can have a relationship, but what's the quality and caliber of that relationship going to look like? What is that? That's always a direct reflection on you and your partner. And it's always a reflection on you guys' growth. How well you prepared yourself to be here in this relationship and how well you've continued to prepare yourself to sustain in this relationship, right? That is the holy grail, everything to it. So when we talk about committing to yourself, right, that's a multifaceted thing. It's not just, oh, am I committing to myself that I'm going to stay committed to my relationship? That's the light work, right? No, it goes into levels. So I'm going to get into that for you right now. The first part of this commitment that you have to make to yourself is committing to always becoming the best version of yourself, right? Always, because you don't get to that version of yourself one time and you just stop, right? Because growth does not end once you get in a relationship. You don't work on yourself and become great just to get that amazing relationship you've been looking for and then you stop, right? No, you have to continue that on throughout the relationship. Growing is an ongoing process that never ends. Growth is one of our core human needs, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. There's no stagnation. This is why we get fidgety whenever we feel like we're not making progress in life, because you need to keep expanding. Your spirit requires it, right? And so in order to commit to being the best version of yourself as much as you can, is committing to always learning, improving, and adding value to your relationship every day, as often as possible for you. You should, as frequent as possible, be consciously asking yourself, how am I or how can I make my relationship better today? And how can I make my partner's life better today? Both of you should be asking yourselves that. The next tier is committing to taking accountability for both the good and the bad. Look, we all have a role in our relationship, right? It's a organism, if you will. When you come together with someone else, you're creating a whole new system that's going on there, right? And you have a role, just like the cells in your body have a role in making up you and making you operate the way you do. And so when that's the case, there's things you do and don't do, things you say and don't say that influence the relationship negatively and positively, right? And so, well, yes, it feels great to be praised and take all the pats on the back when things are awesome. You also have to be willing and courageous enough to stand in it and take accountability and own whenever you're a part of the problem. Having the self-awareness to evaluate where you are being a part of the problem as well as a part of the solution, right? Because that's part of that ongoing growing and improving, right? Self-reflection. So you have to build the confidence, the self-assurance, the self-validation in stripping away more of that rawness of the ego that maybe wants you to push against taking accountability or owning up to something. Or maybe because your partner is not taking accountability, so then you're not, because you feel like if you take accountability, they'll think they're just right and you're wrong, and then you'll never be heard and all the things, right? You can't get caught into that. You have to commit to yourself. Part of being the best version of yourself is owning it whenever you drop the ball, admitting that, and doing better next time. But just as much as you must take accountability for your faults, you have to give yourself acknowledgement when you are doing well as well, because you never want to make yourself a whipping post. It's one of the biggest destroyers of self-worth whenever all you do is self-criticize. We know we can be our biggest critics, right? We all know this. But whenever you're always beating yourself up and never giving yourself praise or saying that you did a good job for yourself, then you're subconsciously telling yourself, I'm never enough. You know, something's wrong with me, or I always need to do better, or I always have to keep doing something to keep proving to myself that I'm doing enough because I can always do more. All these things, right? To where there's no self-love in that. There's no self-acceptance, right? So you got to own your ish whenever you're wrong or whenever you're messing up, but you also got to give yourself praise and recognition whenever you're doing right. Because here's the thing too, your partner should be giving you praise, right? And let you know whenever they're appreciating you and you're doing something amazing, just as much as they should hold you accountable and let you know, hey, I don't know how well this is working. I don't know how well what you're doing right here is helping. They should do both, but you can't always count on your partner to be aware of everything, to see everything, to be in your head, to catch every moment and be perfect, to let you know whenever they appreciate something or whenever you need to correct something. They're on their own journey too. They're figuring things out too. Sometimes they're going to miss things too. So you have to be more aware, more hyper aware of yourself than anyone else ever could be for you. Next, you have to commit to being an individual, not just half of a couple, right? Your partner should always be an active contribution to your happiness, but they should never be the source of it. That is the biggest fail you can do for yourself. Filling your glass up first, learning how to perfect doing that makes you a much stronger, healthier, and happier partner. It makes you better for your partner, the person that you love and want to be their everything to, right? It helps you to do that at your best ability whenever you take full ownership of completing your circle of a pie of a person, right? Your own sense of fulfillment. then you can bring the best contribution to your relationship and therefore be an active contribution to your partner's fulfillment. Just like they should be doing the same thing on their side, and where you're already filling your own glass up, they should be an active contribution to your fulfillment, to your happiness, right? And how can you really express to them what you need in order to have your glass contributed to, right? If you haven't mastered what that looks like for yourself first, how does that work? Too many people go looking for someone to fill the voids, right? Complete my happiness. Something's missing without this person in my life and all that, right? But in reality, the obstacle is that you haven't fulfilled that for yourself first. So now you need your partner versus wanting them. There's a big difference in you operating at 70% and you find someone amazing that fills in the other 30. So now they help you become 100 versus you coming in at 100 and then you find someone amazing and they take life to 1,000, right? That's the way this is supposed to work, not where people are filling pieces for you. Because then it starts to skew and, discombobulate the whole circumstance because now it's diluted. Now we don't know how much of this experience is me being here in a relationship because this is my person and I choose them and they're amazing versus they're great, but I'm not just choosing them, I require them. So it's actually not even about them. It's about what they're helping me to complete for me, right? And by that being the case, they become kind of like a tool versus someone you're choosing because they just fit you best. And the last and probably biggest part to this commitment you need to make to yourself, you ready for it? Is you have to commit to loving yourself more than you love your partner. This is so crucial. And to make sure we're on the same page, that does not mean neglect your partner and treat them like they're less than or something like that, or they're not as valuable as you and all these things. No, what it means is you have to champion and focus on making sure you love yourself enough to work on your own healing, right? Your own insecurities. So addressing wounds, addressing anything that's, feeling off with inside of you, and making yourself happy, owning your own happiness, learning how to fulfill yourself and dictate your own happiness. Because like I said before, once you actually conquer that and you actually are able to be self-sustaining and be autonomous in that way, the goal is autonomy, right? Then now you become so much stronger for the relationship, for your partner. You can be a better backbone. So many of us want to, be that reliable person to our partner, want to be, their teammate. We want to have their back when they need it most because it makes us feel good and prideful that I get an opportunity to show my partner how much I love them and care and I'm in their corner by being here for them through the hard times. Or I get to show how much I do love them by how I can, step up whenever they need me most. Well, you can't step up in the best way that you're capable of if you don't take care of you first. If you don't love yourself enough to make sure you're as healed as possible, that you're not operating with these core wounds and voids that are still with you that are ruining your ability to lend all of what you are capable of. I keep saying capable because so many of us are living below our potential, right? Because we refuse to become healed and whole. We refuse to learn the balance between emotions and intellect, right? Some of us are heavily just all up in our heads and thinking through everything. Some of us are just overly emotional and don't have regulation of our emotions. But few are working to actually bridge the gap and balance in the middle. Be able to understand yourself well enough. You understand your own needs, understand what you require, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Love yourself enough to stand on your standards and your boundaries, all the things, right, that only happen whenever you have a deep-seated enough connection and love to self. So that you're aware of these things and you love yourself enough to work on these things and be consistent with these things. So before you fully try to commit to your partner or to a potential partner that's coming in, ask yourself first, am I truly committed to my own personal growth? Do I take accountability in this relationship or in general, or do I shift blame? Do I have my own identity outside of the relationship? Or if you're single, do I have my own identity now, or do I tend to, gravitate towards others or follow what other people do instead of walking my own path? And am I addressing my own emotional needs, or am I expecting my partner to take care of those for me? Right? Or if you're single, am I tending to what I need emotionally and learning how to be self-sustaining, or do I turn to external sources all the time? Do I have to go travel somewhere to feel happy or secure or safe? Do I have to go be around a ton of people to feel reassured or like I'm feeling love or whatever? Or can I tend to my needs on my own in my own space? Simply put, before you commit to them, make sure you commit to you. So if you need help on actually how to do that, how to go about that process, how to be the best version of yourself, where your blind spots are, how to work on the areas that needs to be addressed so that you can set yourself up for success in a relationship and do your part. And look, the more you do your part, you're able to actually influence your partner better to have better results. If you want help with that, then email or DM me the word coaching and we will get to work, as long as you're truly ready to put that work in. If you're not ready for one-on-one coaching, on the time, space, or maybe resources, then at least email or DM me the word revival and to join my Relationship Revival Hub community, where you can learn the same things I teach my clients one-on-one at your own pace, on your own time. Let's get it.